Kensington Runestone. The Kensington Runestone is a large stone with runes carved in it that some believe may have been carved by Vikings. It's 31 inches tall, 16 inches wide, 6 inches thick, and it weighs about 202 pounds. The interesting thing about the Kensington Runestone is that it was discovered in Minnesota. If it is authentic, it will change the history of the United States as we know it. The story goes that the Kensington Runestone was found in a small farming community near Kensington, Minnesota in 1898. Some versions say that a boy named Edward Oman found it. Another version says that it was his father, Olaf Oman, who found it. It may have been found in the root of a tree, but it's uncertain. It was certainly found underground, though. At least every version of the story has it that way. Regardless of how it was discovered or who discovered it, the Kensington Runestone wound up in the hands of Olaf Oman, who began looking for an explanation. There is no evidence that he actively sought out monetary gain from the Kensington Runestone, though. No one claimed to be able to translate it until 1907, when a University of Wisconsin graduate with a history major, Mr. Holland, came up with the following translation. 8 Goths and 22 Norwegians on an exploration journey from Vinland over the west. We camped by 2 skerries 1 day journey from the stone. We were and fished 1 day. After we came home, 10 men red with blood were tortured. Hail Virgin Mary, saved from evil. Have 10 men by sea to look after ships. 14-day journey from this island. Year 1362. 5 members from the Minnesota Historical Society investigated this stone for 1.5 years and concluded that it was authentic. There is some evidence that the Vikings may have made it as far as Minnesota. What appears to be 5 Viking camps, where holes have been carved into rock similar to those used by Vikings to moor boats, have been found between the Hudson Bay and Sauk Center, Minnesota. Some Norse-looking tools have also been found in the area. It's postulated that some Vikings became stranded in the U.S. when they could not make it back to their ship in time for their return journey. This would explain why some of the maiden Native American tribes in the area have blue-eyed individuals and knowledge of Christianity before accepted. History tells us we should have learned about Christ. None of these things is certain proof that Vikings at least visited the area or proved that the Kensington Runestone is authentic. The other evidence that can be taken into account is that the Kensington Runestone itself, it was once proven to be a hoax by a runologist who did not recognize one of the characters on the stone. Later, another runologist found somewhat rare rune in the other text. This does not prove that the Kensington Runestone is real. However, it does not prove that it is fake. But it will be hard to prove if it's not real. Grey Cloud Island. The reports of ghostly sightings and paranormal activity are so extensive at Grey Cloud Island, it is difficult to determine which is an urban legend and which is fact. So many stories and reports made Grey Cloud Island considered one of the most haunted places in Minnesota. One of the most popular reports of paranormal activity is that of the Green Lantern. Based on different stories, there are those that say a former Indian chief wanders around the cemetery carrying a green lantern. Others report he simply wanders around the cemetery. Further stories claim that the green lantern is not carried by anyone. The unusual green light simply appears to move through the cemetery grounds, the woods, and along local roads. Some people have claimed to see the greenish light in the form of an orb or a cloud. Other people state that they have seen regular orbs around the cemetery and surrounding areas. There are also a number of reports that the Grey Cloud Woman, the second, wanders around Grey Cloud Island despite the fact that she is buried on a reservation with her mother, the original Grey Cloud Woman. Since the area has a great many Native American burial mounds, there are those that claim activity on the island is related to the spirits of the deceased. On nights with a full moon, people have stated they can hear the sound of drums beating. Hearing the howling of coyotes at night or the barking is also something many people swear they have heard when on the island. People who have visited the island also claim that the air is very heavy and thick, making it hard for someone to breathe. This particular claim is one that other people adamantly dispute, as they have never experienced anything like it. A rather unusual bit of activity that numerous people have claimed to experience is a white truck appears to chase people on the island. Some say the truck appears and vanishes without a trace. Others claim that the truck has no driver. Those that have experienced the truck are adamant that it is not made up. And there's reports of a ghostly apparition on a motorcycle that follows people and vanishes into thin air. Some people do dispute the story of the pickup truck as locals who just want to chase off nosy trespassers. When it comes to a lot of the paranormal activity that is reported, there's a lot of connection to the Great Cloud Cemetery, or tombstones in general. There is one report that within the cemetery sits a row of 12 tombstones that belong to a group of nuns. People claim that you can walk and count the 12 tombstones, but if you turn around and recount the tombstones, you will not be able to count 12 the second time. The stories of unusual activity in the cemetery are abundant. There are reports that people can hear disembodied voices, while other people claim to hear horrified screams of a woman. Other reports from paranormal enthusiasts claim to have seen a man wearing a red flannel jacket and an orange hat while smoking and carrying a rifle. The sight wouldn't have caused any issue for those who have seen him, except for the man was translucent. There's so many accounts from people from just driving past the cemetery or just around the island that there's just an overwhelming feeling of uneasiness that creeps into people. Countless haunted stories continue to be told about the Great Cloud Island. Locals would prefer if most people simply did not visit the island, as they claim there is no unusual activity whatsoever. Other avid ghost hunters claim that there is plenty of unusual activity in the area, from orbs to screams, odd feelings, and sightings of everything from long-deceased Native Americans to a ghost of a woman. The soap factory. Soap factories are horrible places even today because they involve the slaughter of thousands of animals whose body fats are rendered to make soap. One can only imagine what sort of cruel, vindictive spirits such places have attracted in the past, when conditions for both the animals and the workers were much worse. The Soap Factory Art Gallery in Minneapolis stands as a perfect example of this. Named for its location in an old soap factory that also made artificial limbs for wounded Civil War veterans, the basement is famously haunted by a malevolent entity. Skilled paranormal researchers have described it as demonic. But this deters the gallery's owner not one bit. Instead, they've cashed in on the basement's reputation by hosting an annual haunted house event on the site. It's said to be so intense that you have to sign a waiver just to go in. But who knows how much of what goes on there is stage and how much is genuinely just haunted? What better place to hide a real demon than among a bunch of fake ones?